How you doing, Facebook friends and family? Today, I have another lesson. The title of this lesson today is going to be the parable of the hired laborers in Matthew chapter 20. It's a parable, all right? And to understand that parable, we have to open up the book, the sealed portion, to understand that parable, all right? In that parable, you have laborers working in the vineyard. And those laborers, we don't know who they are, okay? But what you're going to find out today, that they are Jews and Gentiles that was in the field laboring, all right? But before we begin, let's get our precepts out of the way. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 28, verses 9 through 11, all right? Start at verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Verse 11. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. All right. Our second precept is going to be Psalms 119. Psalms 119, 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. We're going to drop down to 128. 128. Therefore I esteem all thy precepts concerning all things to be right, and I hate every false way. Drop down to 134. Deliver me from the oppression of man, so I will. Salakia, so will I keep thy precepts. All right. Our third precept is going to be 2 Nephi chapter 28, verses 30. Book of Mormon, Doctrines and Covenants, pearl of great price. All right. 2 Nephi chapter 28, verses 30. For behold, thus saith the Lord God, I will give unto the children of men, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. And blessed are those who hearken unto my precepts, and lend an ear unto my counsel. For they shall learn wisdom. For unto him that receiveth I will give more, and from them that shall say, we have enough, from them shall be taken away even that which they have. Alright? The Most High is not going to increase your knowledge if you're rejecting the precepts or rejecting the other books that he had made, written by the northern tribe of Israel. Alright? Our last precept is going to be Doctrines and Covenants, chapter 42, verse is 12. Actually, let's go to Doctrines and Covenants, chapter 98, verse 12. Verse 12. For he will give unto the faithful, line upon line, precept upon precept, and I will try you and prove you herewith. All right? Now we're going to drop back to Doctrines and Covenants, chapter 42, verses 12. And again, the elders, priests, and teachers of this church shall teach the principles of my gospel, which are in the Bible and the Book of Mormon, in the which is the fullness of the gospel. So the fullness of the gospel is the Bible and the Book of Mormon. All right, we are all done with our precepts, so let's begin the seal portion. We're going to begin at the header, chapter 48. All right. Why Jesus began to speak in parables to the people. The way to understand the parables and symbolism of the scriptures is given. The final latter-day prophet will be given the ability to understand and explain all parables that have been given, but will only do so according to the commandment of the Spirit. All right? So, in the final day, there's going to be a prophet that's going to understand and to explain the parable that Jesus talked about in the Bible. All right. Sometimes I use Jesus when I'm reading, but I do refer to him as Yahushua HaMashiach in the Hebrew. All right. Now, this is a pretty long chapter here. We're going to start at verse 79 to get the understanding before we get to the parable. I'm going to read 4 verses before I get into the parable, and it's going to let you know who was first and who was last, and who's going to be last and who's going to be first. All right. So let's get into it. Verse 79. But many unto whom we preach these things, which are first, shall be last in the resurrection, because they refuse the commandments of the Father as we have given them. Verse 80. And many of them that shall receive this gospel after it had been rejected by the Jews, yea, even the Gentiles, which are the last, shall be first to be resurrected unto everlasting life, because they rejoiced in the Father and kept his commandments. Okay? Now verse 81. But in the end, all those who are first, the Gentiles, shall be last, and those who are last, the Jews, shall be first. And the Father shall save all his children as soon as they are willing to keep his commandments, which he hath commanded me to give unto them. All right? And all shall be equally blessed of the Father, whether they are resurrected first or last. All shall be heirs of his kingdom, and given that which the Father promised them in the beginning. All right? So, the Jews rejected the gospel, so went to the Gentiles. All right? Now, after all the Gentiles received the gospel, now the gospel has to come back to the Jews. All right? So let's get into the parable. Verse 83. For the kingdom of heaven is likened to a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers in his vineyard. And when they had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. Verse 84. And he went about that third hour, and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Verse 85. And again he went out about the 6th and 9th hour, and did likewise. Verse 86. And about the 11th hour he went out, and found others standing idle, and said unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? They say unto him, Because no man hath hired us. He say unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. Salakia, verse 87. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard said unto his steward, Call the laborers, and give them their hire, beginning from the last, the Jew, unto the first, the Gentile. Okay, verse 88. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, the Gentiles, they supposed that they should receive more, and they likewise received every man a penny. Verse 89. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, These last, the Jews, have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden of heat of the day. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Take that thine is, and go thy way. For I will give unto the last, the Jews, even as unto thee. Verse 91. Is it not lawful for me, Salakia, is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own? He's talking about the Jews. All right? Is thine eye evil because I am good? This is Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, talking to that Gentile. Am I evil because I'm good? I'm giving you the same opportunity that I'm giving to my people of the house of Israel. Okay? Let's go to 2 Nephi chapter 29, verses 5. Alright? This is for the Gentiles here. Verse 5. O ye Gentiles, have you remembered the Jews, my ancient covenant people? Nay, but you have cursed them, and have hated them, and have not sought to recover them. But behold, I will return all these things upon your own heads, for I, the Lord, have not forgotten my people. Okay? The Most High is not going to place a Gentile above his people. Alright? Even though his people rejected the gospel, he still is coming back for his people, the house of Israel. They inherit the kingdom of heaven. Alright? Now let's get into some scriptures here. Verses, I believe, 80. We're going back here, okay? We're backtracking. It says, and many of them that shall receive this gospel after it had been rejected by the Jews. I got a question mark there. Alright? Because not all the Jews rejected the gospel. Alright? Now, let's get some scripture for that. Let's go to Mark chapter 8, verses 31. Let's see who rejected the gospel. I said Mark chapter 8, verses 31 is going to tell us who rejected the gospel. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders, and of the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So the people of the Jews that rejected the gospel would be your elders, your chief priests, and also your scribes. Okay? We have another one. We got John 11. John 11, chapter 47, 11, verses 47 and 48. John 11, verse 47 and 48. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come back and take away both our place and nation. All right? So the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes rejected the gospel. All right? Now, let's see how many Jews believe. Let's go to Acts chapter 21, verses 20. Acts 21, verses 20. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. Okay? So you had many thousands of Jews that believed on this gospel right here. Okay? All right? Now, sometimes in a debate or a battle, a lot of people say, hey, all the Jews rejected Christ. They rejected the gospel. But it's not true. I just read in Acts chapter 21, verse 20, that many thousands believed the gospel. All right? Now, let's finish. I got one more verse here in the sealed portion. Let's start back at 91. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own, the Jews? Is thy eye evil because I am good? Verse 92. And thus spake Jesus in the parable, that his disciples might understand that the last, the Jews, shall be first, and the first, the Gentiles, shall be last in the kingdom of the Father. For many are called, but few chosen. and that they are not chosen because they complain against the Father who rendereth equality in all things which pertain unto his children. Alright? Now let's get the position of the Gentiles in the kingdom of heaven. We're going to go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 1 and 2. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. The Most High is going to always choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers are your Gentiles, okay, shall be joined with them. They're going to be together. But how? And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, who captive they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So right now you got the Gentiles ruling the world right now. Okay? When Christ comes back and gather the remnant of the children of Israel, they're going to rule over their oppressors. They're going to rule over the Gentiles, also in the kingdom of heaven to come. Alright? Now the Gentile position is to be servants and handmaids. Alright? I'm not trying to start anything or say anything negative, but the Gentiles has been ruling ever since Christ left the earth. And what they've been doing, the Gentiles, what they've done to the gospel, they turned the gospel into a business. You got mega million churches out there just making a lot of money, just taking your money. Alright? Number two, they separated the people through religion. You know, you got your apostolic, you got your Baptist, your Mormon, your Catholic, your Seventh-day Adventist, and so forth in religion. Everybody on the earth is separated through religion. Okay? There's division amongst the people. Alright? The Gentiles, they changed the days and laws. The fourth commandment is the Sabbath day. Okay? They changed the day from the Sabbath day to Sunday. You're doing sun worship. Alright? Also, they tell you that you can eat anything. As long as you pray, you can eat anything. The Most High told the children of Israel, my ancestors, not to eat swine's flesh, shrimp, anything that's unclean. We're not supposed to eat that. Alright? But the Gentiles will teach that it's safe to eat. Alright? What else the Gentiles did with the gospel? They raped, robbed, and murdered. They conquered the whole earth through religion. They forced you into what is called Christianity. Okay? Sometimes if you sit in a room with someone in a different religion than you start to feel some type of tension. You won't like that person because he's an apostolic or a Pentecostal or a Catholic or a Mormon or a Seventh-day Adventist. There's confliction right there, and it shouldn't be. Alright? If we're all reading from this one book, why are we all divided? Why? This is why your churches is closed right now. The times of the Gentiles is up. Alright? Now the Most High is sending his servants, his preachers, his teachers out right now to teach this word, to bring both these books together. Alright? Both of these books is the fullness of the gospel. The tribe of Judah at the bottom, and also on the top, the tribe of Joseph for Ephraim. Ephraim right there on the side right there, if you can see that right there, okay? Well, anyway, that was the parable of Matthew chapter 20. You know, the Jews was first. The Gentiles were first to receive the gospel. After the Jews fell, it went to the Gentiles. They became first. The Jews became last. Now the Most High is returning the gospel to the Jews. Now they're going to become first, and the Gentiles are going to become last. All right. Hopefully this lesson was edifying for you guys, to give you a better understanding of Matthew chapter 20. You can read it now and understand that the laborers in the vineyard were two different types of people. One was a Jew and the other was a Gentile. Okay? When you read Matthew chapter 20, it doesn't tell you that. So you have like 4 scriptures that's missing from there. Okay? And those scriptures are in the sealed portion. Alright? In the sealed portion. I want to thank the Most High for giving me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Bringing these books into my attention, and just to record myself and educate those who might not have any knowledge of the Bible. All right. Now, personally myself, I have not read the whole Bible. Okay. You see how thick this is? I have not read the whole Bible. All right. You see how thick this is? I have not read the whole sealed portion of this. All right. I take it day by day. To tell you the truth, I've been struggling on Matthew chapter 20 for 3 days. I've been struggling with no help. And I got down on my knees yesterday. I'm like, Most High, you got to give me some more knowledge, some more wisdom, and understand Matthew chapter 20. And he broke it down and letting me know that there was 2 people in the vineyard, the laborers, the Gentile and the Jew. Okay? So hopefully you guys were edified on this lesson today. And I thank you guys for listening. If you want to, just leave a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. If you don't like what I'm doing, please leave a comment. Leave me a scripture if I left anything out. All right? So hopefully that you understand this parable in Matthew chapter 20. All right?